Successful companies know that in order to grow faster, you must have the right tools.
We are TFR, Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome to Spirit's Journey, coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. Your hosts are Patrick and Kathryn Andries.
Join us each week as we explore a wide range of metaphysical topics such as dreams, astrology, intuitive readings, and life purpose. You'll receive practical guidance so that you can live your most awesome life.
Learn more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com and connect with us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio. Welcome to Spirit's Journey. We are coming to you live today on Truth Frequency Radio, being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. You can also find us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. We're here in the Heartland holding the energy for spiritual truth and awareness. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Kathryn. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to announce our guest today. I just learned that we both studied at the Berkeley Psychic Institute at about the same time. So that was a cool connection. We just learned about each other. So today we're welcoming Phyllis King, and she calls herself a common sense psychic. Phyllis combines heightened spiritual awareness with proven life management skills to offer full spectrum career and life transformation possibilities. So if you are looking for that today, tune in. Phyllis is going to be on call. So this common sense psychic has worked with tens and thousands of people in over 25 countries. And people like her for her practical and down-to-earth approach. You may have seen her on shows such as ABC, CBS, NBC TV, various radio programs across the country, and she is also an author. She has 4 books: Bouncing Back, Thriving in Changing Times with Wayne Dyer, and her latest book, The Energy of Abundance, Practical Advice and Spiritual Wisdom to Achieve Awakening in Life, is now available. So welcome, Phyllis.
Hi, Phyllis.
Hi, glad to be here.
Well, and I think that's so fascinating that we both studied at the Berkeley Psychic Institute. It's an amazing place out in California. We weren't at the same branches, though, so we never probably crossed paths physically. But anyway, I think it's so fascinating that you've combined psychic and common sense in the same title. I love it. So what is a common sense psychic?
Well, I love the practical. I love the linear, how do things actually work, but I'm in love with the spiritual as well, the unseen, and those elements that we can't touch, taste, and smell. I like to put them together, and I like it when the spiritual becomes tangible. I like when we can understand it in a very practical way. So that's how a common sense psychic came to be.
And I think that's great because you're giving a new perspective. A lot of people think, oh, psychic, airy, fairy, but you're bringing it down to reality. And that's kind of what I try to do with the work that I do, is show people, they're these really spiritual tools, but they can be so practical and helpful in today's world.
Well, and I love all the woo-woo ethereal way out there, and I have plenty of friends who speak in that language. It's not the language that really makes sense to me. I mean, I understand those folks and I adore them. But for me, that's just my particular vibe. And, I like the world to make sense to me on all levels.
Yeah, I know quite a few people.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
I know quite a few people who use that term woo-woo. Oh, yeah, it's all that woo-woo. Sometimes they talk badly about it. Sometimes that's because they're what they're wanting, but I like all that more esoteric stuff too, but both me and Kathryn are, we consider ourselves a lot more down to earth than, some of the people we know, and a lot of people have given us that comment too, that, we try to be practical about it.
And so I was curious, with that approach that you have, what kinds of clientele, what kind of people are the ones that call Phyllis for help? Are they, the people already into metaphysics?
Spectrum. Well, usually it's really funny because I'll get a lot of people call me who say, I would never go to a psychic, but I'll go to you. So I think there is so much in the delivery of how you speak about intangible matters. But I get people from all walks of life. And, as you probably know, there's a lot of people who would never say they go to a psychic. That doesn't mean they're not into it. And it doesn't mean they're not already thinking thoughts about it. So I get business owners, I get entrepreneurs, I get lawyers, I get teachers, government officials. I get people across the spectrum, and all that tells me is that people are hungry, A, for a connection, B, they're hungry to make sense of their life. And when you speak in a language that causes them to feel either safer or connect the dots in their own life in any form, they're going to move in that direction no matter what it's called. But I certainly have had people who will sit in my office and talk to me about aliens. And I have people who sit in my office and just want to talk about business.
So you do a lot of different things. So you do coaching, you're an author, you're a speaker, you're an abundance expert. So how did you go from being a psychic into all these different areas?
Well, of course, the psychic piece, which you guys can probably understand, you can't really turn it off. And so, a time came in my life when I decided I wasn't going to try any longer. It was too exhausting to try and turn it down. So I actively went into it. But because I have this very linear, resolving type of mind, when I was just psychic reading, it felt like half the job. And it's funny, Kathryn, because as you know, Louis Bostwick used to say, psychics are always wanting to be psychic psychologists. And I guess I'm proving true to the form. But, I felt when people wanted to know why something is going to happen, not just that it is. And I felt I wanted to share why. I really wanted to go after the why piece. And I started to do that a lot automatically because of the way my mind works. And so that really just turned me into that. Ultimately, I just felt like I needed to offer two separate services in that way. And then it just grew from there.
Well, and I think that's such a great approach, because otherwise it's just information that people may not do anything with, or think that if you tell them you're going to get a raise at work, they might think they don't have to do anything to get that raise. And so the practical approach, would be like, yeah, you do have to participate in this. And, I don't know, what is your perspective on free will, for example? Like, do you tell people this is going to happen in 6 months? Or do you say, this is a possibility if you work with it? How do you deal with free will?
I do both. I do both because I do look at a blueprint when I first start to read people's energy, which talks to me about what they're here in this lifetime to heal, to contribute, or to evolve beyond. But then there's the practical things, of course, people want to know, what's a 2-year overview? I do that as well. And look at the possibilities, but also the things that tend to be more fixed. And there are some reasonably reliable ways to predict timing of events. Timing can be a challenge, but I try to do both. And there's different ways to do that.
Good. Wow. Yeah. Because that's something that, people often want us to tell them, well, just tell me what's going to happen in 6 months. And we don't really work from that perspective. We say, well, here's some possibilities and you might have to work at it. And people don't always want to hear that, they just want the easy, it's going to happen. And so, a lot of people want to be able to do what you do. They're like, I want to be a psychic. And so is everybody a psychic? Or is it something that has to be developed? And how was it in your case?
Well, yes to all the questions, but there's varying degrees. I came out of the womb that way, and things started happening throughout my life, such as seeing formless shapes when I was very young. To in elementary school, I could be in one place, people would be in another. I would know what was happening, what was going on in the conversation verbatim. I could meet up with someone. It would be kind of deja vu. Like, didn't we already have this discussion? But it was really right there, present. And those things didn't really scare me. But helped me see sort of the oneness of the moment, that it's all in the moment. And then, of course, when I went into my teen years, I began to have precognitive experiences, primarily through dream state. I'd have a dream, wake up, within 24 to 48 hours, that thing would occur. A lot of times those were more negative, when it would, like deaths or accidents, things like that. And again, those didn't scare me, but it really connected me again to the oneness of the moment. And then when I was 19, a friend of mine in my circle of friends passed away in a car accident. And then he showed up in my room about 3 months later looking like a person. And that was both terrifying and opening. It was a huge awareness. And that's really what catapulted me into, I've got to find out what this is. I got to understand what it means about me and what I need to do about it. What does it mean about God and the world? So that was the beginning of my whole ascent into this realm. But in terms of other people, I think there's so many elements involved. I think any of us can do it. I think when you get a start like I did, where you already have some things happening, it's easier. But I think through experience and practice, most any of us can access what we have and develop it. Just like an athlete, you can develop it. Not all of us are Mariah Carey and can sing like that. Not all of us are Tom Brady and can be an athlete like that. But you can improve and develop what you have.
And
I think the more affinity you have for it, the more you like it, the more you feel called to it, that's the more you probably have a talent for it.
Right. And would you say that the Berkeley Psychic Institute, I know you went there for 4 years, was that a big piece of you kind of learning to channel and work with that intuitive energy?
Well, yes and no. I was only reading before I got there. But what I loved about Berkeley Psychic Institute was it was normalized. Suddenly it was like, oh, I'm not crazy. And that's their phrase. You may not be crazy, you're just psychic. And so suddenly everybody around you is psychic. Everybody's doing psychic things. And they're giving you a lot of different tools and different ideas to play with that you never thought about before. So I would say going there, that feeling of inclusiveness and having a lot of tools and a lot of playgrounds and have it be normalized was so helpful. But I think in terms of safety, in terms of how to look at spirit in different ways and different ideas, some of those things I still rely upon till this day.
So one of the ways that I've kind of distinguished it in my mind is, I think of people who are born with it, turned on, are, psychic, and then the people like me who developed it over time through, practice of different techniques. I think of that as more of an intuitive, even though they're all really the same abilities. Do you think this is something that like everybody should pursue to some degree just to explore their natural abilities? Or do you think, this is more like a calling that some people should do? Do you have thoughts on, if everybody should really work on these abilities?
Wow, great questions. Well, and it's a tricky one. I would say I feel called to do this work because I can't do anything else. I mean, I don't feel like me if I'm not doing it. So, but not everybody needs to do it for a living. I think more it's helpful to get to know yourself and learn how your system works, because I think we're all intuitive to certain degrees. And again, I think what's most important is if you feel drawn to it, that you like it, and then how you place it in your life, doing it personally, professionally, for friends, or however you want to define it. I still think it's helpful, and it helps to make sense of the energetic nature of life. But I think because there is such, 50% of the planet thinks, we're whack jobs, or, I've been picketed, and I've had people attack my website and try and bring it down. I mean, so there are people who think it's the work of the devil and this and that and the other. So you do have to have an affinity for it enough and an understanding for it enough that all of that stuff is just background noise, that it really has no influence. You have to have that point of view. And I think for those people who want to go into the profession, it's worthwhile to think about that at least for 5 minutes and then move on from there. But I have to say, I've taught psychic development for a lot of years, and people who come into the class who have never done it before, just have an interest in it, or maybe they've had a lot of readings or this, that, and the other. Some of those folks can be amazing. And I don't know if it's because the vibratory frequency of the planet has raised, the consciousness itself is elevating. But I just think some of my beginning students blow my mind. I'm like, I couldn't do that when I was a beginning student. How are you doing that? So I think there is something going on the planet right now that is making space for folks who are feeling like something might be calling out to them. I don't know, Patrick, if that's exactly the answer you were looking for, but that's my overall feeling towards what you said to me. You asked a lot of good questions in there.
Oh, yeah, I think that was a really good response. So if somebody is interested in developing their abilities, whether they're planning on going into it as a career or something just to get to know themselves better, what would be your suggestions for where people would get started doing something like that?
Well, I think the first thing, it's certainly at Berkeley Psychic Institute, they always started everybody at meditation. So some form of way you can calm yourself and learn how to observe your system and how you respond to energy, how you can quiet down and become aware of intangible realities. Some people just do that to get closer to God. They just try and be quiet so they can hear the intangible world, the greater reality out there. I think that's the first step. And then as you're out looking for teachers or schools, it's really keep it simple. I think people and schools who get into real complex ideas and things of that nature right at the get-go, I think, you want to think about that carefully and see if you relate to the teacher, see if it makes sense to you, what they're saying, and if it feels good to you. And do people offer refunds? If you don't like it after 2 or 3 months, are you committed to a program? But so much of psychic development is experiential. You can't really read about it in a book. You can hear what people say, but until you get in there and put yourself on the front lines and starting to interpret energy, it doesn't make sense to you because everybody's system is different. So, I have a psychic development training program, and you can do it at home. It's self-guided because I've taught the classes live too, but it's really the experience, reading for other people. So let's say somebody's into the tarot or pendulum or whatever cards you're in. I'd be doing that as much as possible and keeping a log and really tracking what works and what doesn't work and what predictions come true and which ones don't, and sort of dissecting some of that. But there is no one way, no right way. I just go on what feels right and look for people who seem to be ethical.
I love that term.
Not seem to be, are.
Oh, yes, definitely. They are ethical. I love that term, intangible reality, because, we have this physical world that is very demanding because our physical senses are taking in all of this stimulus. And I think sometimes we get misled to believe that this is it. But then we actually have this whole internal world that we can start to access when we meditate and even through dream work and things like that. And so I love that term. I want to remember that. So what are some misconceptions, though, about psychic abilities and readings that you've encountered over the years?
Well, I would say some people who aren't as versed in psychic awareness or whatnot, they tend to think that I will see everything. Like I'll be on the phone with someone, and I haven't even spoken to them for 5 minutes, and they think, oh, well, you know everything about me, you know every lie I've ever told, you know the name of my cat, it's like I have a camera into their bedroom and I'm staring at them. They don't realize that you have to actually call in information. And granted, sometimes things do pop up, but I have a very specific process to call in energy and then begin to interpret it based upon a specific process. And so unless they're asking a specific question, sometimes it's like the iceberg metaphor. that I'm seeing the top of the iceberg. Until I really get in there, I'm not seeing all the stuff that's beneath it. So I think that people tend to think we see everything in an instant, like you do when you open your eyes in the tangible reality. And the other thing, I think they think that there's curses out there, that that we have access to beings and entities and things like that they do not. That somehow we have a link that they do not, and that we have more power, or they get really intimidated almost. So we're just regular folks who happen to see the world in a little bit different way, and we're just folks. So I think that they empower us sometimes in a way, or fear us in a way that's really not true to life.
And do you think, Phyllis, that sometimes people can actually subconsciously or unconsciously block information themselves? Because sometimes I started out doing readings like the Berkeley Psychic Institute style, but then I went on and studied other places. So we do different forms of reading. But sometimes when a question is asked, it says this information cannot be given, that it's actually better that the person not hear it, or that they may be in some way blocking it. Have you ever experienced something like that? Like they ask a question
rarely.
And you can't get the answer?
Rarely. The only time I ever remember not be able to get the answer is when the other party was on purpose trying to hide it. But then there's a lot of tools and tricks you can use to get rid of that. And then as I was recounting that to the readee, they're like, that's right. They're really trying to keep things top secret. It was a business situation. Or if there's a lot of resistance or hiding energy going on, I will say, do you really want to know about this? Is this something, I'll make sure that it's something they're really ready for. I'm one who doesn't, at the beginning of their reading, I tell a lot of information. It's what they expect. But then if something comes up about a death or a medical situation or something really extreme, and they haven't asked, I will always ask, is this something you want to know about? Because some people may not want that information. So, I don't have that specific situation happen in that way. And I'm an excavator. I'm going to figure out a way to get access to that information and then give them the choice about whether or not they want it. And I think when you talk about people blocking, that's such a deeper issue in terms of, the truths people want to know and their readiness to hear truth. I mean, we could have a whole nother show on that one. So I'm not sure we're talking about the exact same thing, but I think we're in the same universe.
Yeah, I think we're definitely in the same area. I was just thinking of one instance, and it is pretty rare, but we do past life readings and health readings. I remember this one reading that came up, and a lot of times we'll give the name in that past lifetime because we always ask for the most significant to the present. And it said that the person who is receiving the reading was someone famous in that lifetime, and that they would have a hard time really embracing the scope of their mission at this point because they had some things that they needed to change within themselves before they could
I see. Okay.
To the full scope of their mission. So it didn't reveal that they were actually this well-known, famous person in this lifetime. And so that was one instance. I think there's been a couple of others. Yeah, it's pretty rare, but it's just sort of interesting when it comes up because I question, it's like, so is there a guide that's kind of guiding us on, if they're ready for this, or is that their own subconscious mind that's guiding us on that? So it's just kind of fascinating to study. I mean, I never find.
Well, and I think there are protections that we have in place, and that so certain things won't come forward. So I hear what you're saying on that, and I do agree. Yeah.
And before we're getting close to the break, Phyllis, and we do want to let callers know that if they have a question for Phyllis, the second half of the show, they can call in and ask a question, and we will get feedback from Phyllis. This is an awesome opportunity she's opening herself up to. In the U.S., you can call 213-233-3998. In the UK, 44203-393-2871. So, and Phyllis, before we go on the break, how can people find you?
I'm all over the place, but my website is the first stop, which is my name, Phyllis, Phyllis King, phyllisking.com. Or just Google the Common Sense Psychic, and you can find my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter, my YouTube.
There aren't two Common Sense Psychics out there. If they say Common Sense Psychic, they're going to get you.
They're going to get me, and then I'm trademarked. So if they get somebody else, then let me know so I can send them a letter.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And so, we used to hear this term a lot in metaphysical circles, people that would constantly go to workshops, and we'd call them workshop junkies. They would just wait for the next workshop. And I'm assuming that there are also people that just go to the next psychic every 3 weeks, every 3 months, psychic junkies. Do you experience people like that just keep coming for readings?
Not too often. I used to. I attract a different type of client at this time. Not that I don't occasionally get samplers, but I don't get a lot of that anymore. But I know they're out there. I know they're out there. And I do have a couple of clients I've had for a long time. And because, I may not be as affordable as some other folks, they go on some of these hotlines where they're whatever they are a minute, and and they get their immediate need met, whatever that is. But I don't typically attract that type of client.
I like that term
for whatever
sampler.
reason. Yeah,
I never heard that term before, but I know when I go to Trader Joe's, I like to sample their stuff there too. And every once in a while, you get something you really like, so it works. All right. Well, we are heading into the break, so as we are in the break, please check out Spirit's Journey on tfrlive.com and see if you want to support the station. Also, this is Spirit's Journey on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. We'll see you on the other side.
Real people, real radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
And we are back from the break. If you are just joining us, this is Spirit's Journey with Patrick and Kathryn Andries. We're coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio, simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio, and we are here today with Phyllis King, the Common Sense Psychic. So welcome back to the second half, Phyllis.
Thanks, Patrick.
And once again, the second half here, we are going to open up the phone lines to take a few calls. So in the United States, you can call 213-233-3998. And in the UK, you can call 44203-393-2871. So if you miss those numbers, you can go to our website at tfrlive.com. Many of you may be listening to us through that website. And right there on the front page is that call-in number as well. So as long as everything is running smoothly with the technology, we'll be more than happy to take a few calls today.
So, Phyllis, I am curious about if you have any visions or messages about what the heck's going on in the world and what you see I know it's a big question, but if you have any insights or things that you want to share about anything going on in the world and what you see.
Sure. And for anybody who would be interested, I do predictions in December, and I have those on my website and on my Facebook page. But, this gets a little bit woo-woo, but we'll go there. I think that we are a mature soul planet trying to make our way to an old soul planet. Let's use those words. And so there's so much conflict energy that's around the globe. And conflict, for me, and problems are always ways that cause us to focus, that cause us to turn our attention towards solving, and we have it on a mass level all over the globe, just a lot of conflict. So we feel the push and pull of that energy in our daily lives, in our communities, in our country, and just around the globe. And we're at a point in time right now where we're going to either go better and have a surge of positivity, or we're going to go the other way. And it's not clear to me. It kind of keeps going back and forth. And if we go the other way, it's only temporary. The story's just not over yet. But we really begin to see free will and how people can move energy around. And so this whole idea, even when information turned digital and became instantaneous on the planet, that was really a huge turning point for how people began to perceive experiences in the world. And so now we have this new term, fake news, if you will. And so how people perceive what's happening is sort of what's happening on a planetary level. So are you going to believe certain perceptions, or what are you going to focus on? And for me, it's the ultimate battle between tangible and intangible. Where is the consciousness going to go on the planet in the foreseeable future? I'm an eternal optimist, so I believe it will go toward the intangible, because quantum physics proves that what you perceive is what you perceive internally precedes external. And so I think this is what's happening on the planet, and why there's so much conflict and divisiveness and all of that we see. And there's a lot of other things as well, in terms of presidential elections and flood central and all of that. But I think energetically, that's what we're all playing with.
Well, yeah, I believe also that because of all this fake news, and we've always had fake news, really, it's just becoming more of a big thing now because there's so much less integrity, and newspapers are bought out. We know that they're answering to corporations that own them, not to the truth. So I tell people, you have got to get your radar on to get to the bottom of what's really going on, because we're like a bunch of tennis balls. We're being batted around by the media and all this fake stuff to believe what they want us to. Mm-hmm. And so it's so crucial now, I think, to develop this intuitive ability to see what's truth and what's not.
Excellent point. And, I personally stay attuned to higher wisdom. Sort of the stuff that goes beneath it, in terms of news and all that goes on. I don't give that much of my time or attention at all, only as necessary. But I stay attuned to a higher wisdom, or what I believe to be a higher wisdom.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I believe that anything that we really want to put to the test, we can look within and see what we feel that we know is right. And, one of the problems I have with this whole new push for fake news is that you have this small handful of people determining what is true and what isn't, and so trying to make this statement and keep people from exploring new areas. Actually, we have
a caller from Michigan.
Cool.
So Michigan, hello.
Hello?
Yes, you are on the air.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Yep, so I just had a question. Hi.
Hi, what's your name, caller?
Hi, my name is Elaine.
Oh, hi, Elaine.
Hi.
What's your question, love? Yeah, go for it.
My question is just about if I have anything interesting or exciting coming up this year. If you see any new job happening.
Oh, never. It's going to be the dullest year on record. I would go home, shut the curtains. It's over. And have you had a particularly dull time that you're looking for some excitement?
I wouldn't say it's dull. It's
I'm
busy.
teasing you. I'm teasing you. Just tell me to shut up at any time. Okay. Well, all right. Just give me a second to grab your energy and let's see what we got going for you, Elaine in Michigan. I'm just going to scan. And what's going on over here. Now, do you have a younger sister or is someone in your family looking at having a child or a pregnancy?
I have daughters with children.
Are they? Well, it looks like that is a potential for some happiness over there. That's not for you directly, but it is something in your realm. So I would say expanded family is certainly on tap for you. Let's see what else is showing up in your sector. When I look at work and money space as well, so are you currently working? Do you have a job or do you own your own business?
I'm not currently working.
Okay. Do you want to work?
Not particularly, but
Heck
I would
no,
like the
she
money,
says.
but...
Let's avoid work at all costs. Well, when I'm looking at your workspace and the money space, there is an increase around the end of the summer as we go into October. So that's an interesting time, and whether that's related to a husband or someone else bringing income into your space, that's a question mark. And it also talks to me about the possibility of travel if that's something you would like to do. So, I mean, there are some interesting things coming up for you this year. And, you know, what I notice about your energy in general is that you are looking for a breakthrough in general as a person. That life seems to be okay, but you are kind of looking for the next thing. Now, if you happen to get a grandbaby or someone comes in on that level, that could be part of an answer, but there is sort of a yearning happening, and I think that's going to get louder as the year goes on. So I would look towards the last quarter of the year for things to kind of get rolling for you, whether that's movement with baby news, whether that's travel, or where you get a fire lit under you to explore some new area for yourself, because you're up for that in 2021. So I hope that's helpful for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that is very helpful.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Elaine.
Thank you.
All right, so I had a question too when we were talking about world events, Phyllis. I've heard of some of these events where, for example, astronomically, there was this very large asteroid that was on this very near miss path with the Earth some time ago. And I remember somebody mentioning something about that if humanity had not made certain changes by a certain time, that asteroid may have actually hit, but that we made some changes. And so, you know, the energies nudged it ever so slightly when it was, you know, pretty far out there. And so that actually ended up being this near miss that was, you know, not something that affected us, but that was sort of a reminder that we needed to keep moving in terms of our collective spiritual growth. So have you ever seen any events like that in terms of, you know, certain milestones that humanity needs to reach at certain times, or, you know, potential calamities that may happen if we don't reach those milestones?
Well, I look at planetary events for the most part, you know, so on the asteroid level, I'm sure that we have had those. I haven't looked specifically, but my knowingness tells me that there's been a lot of things that we've been graced to not have occur. And also because, as I said at the top of the show, I do have a lot of friends who delve in other modalities and say I do. I'm very practical and in the what's, you know, how do I pay my PG&E bill next month, and helping people get to that answer. But I know there's people out there who have talked to me about some of those near misses. However, when I'm making my predictions, I look at things like this is like, I wasn't kidding. This is a water year. There's a lot of flood energy, and so we're going to see that all over the planet. And you know, I think these are wake-up calls for things related to climate and how we're managing that. So, you know, I'm looking at that level, not the things coming to us from outside of the planet. I mean, it's all connected anyhow in the planetary system, but I don't have the intelligence or background to know enough about to comment on it well enough.
Oh, that's all right. So, go ahead.
Well, I was curious, the biggest question you're probably confronted with, which we are a lot, is this, abundance thing. People want more money. How do I make more money? What's blocking my abundance?
Where's my stuff?
Right. Yeah. And so, what do you see as blockages that people have with money? And what are some things, if you have any advice, that people could do to bring more abundance into their lives?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing, if you want organic abundance, people are big on the law of attraction and how to vision boards and visualizing and all that type of stuff. I think one of the things we have to know from the get-go, that internal narrative, what we actually believe is true and is going to happen, whether it's spoken or unspoken, that's what happens. And emotion is what actually drives energetic creative processes, not thoughts. Thoughts do some, but emotion is really the gas pedal. And so you may be sitting at your home saying, I am wealthy, affirmations over and over. But if in your mind you're saying, this is crap, I'm never going to have a dime, or you have something in your energetic structure, whether it's from your family of origin or what you believe is true, you do have to clean that up if you want to be successful in the law of attraction. So I think people think it's an external process to attract. It's so much more internal. 75% of it is keeping that internal space in a space of gratitude, thankful for the moment you are in, seeing the benefit of the moment you are in. If you're only saying, I don't have this thing, as opposed to, what do I have? We're focused, what do you have rather than what you don't have? I mean, it's so much about mining out the gold of the moment, that every experience is divine food of life. And how do you see it in that way? And when you reconcile your energy so that every moment you're in, you're just grateful. I'm thankful for this moment. That's the vibration you want to be on, and that's the place you want to set intention from and do your vision board from. You don't want to do your vision board from, I don't have enough, because you're creating more I don't have enough. So I think that's the one thing, if people could know that piece, that you got to clean up and be in a state of gratitude first, and then set intention and work that law of attraction technique book, you're going to do a lot better. Make sense?
Definitely. Yeah. Sometimes I even describe it as that when you're creating, that you need to start from the inside first and work your way out. And that's
perfect.
Yep.
Yes.
Well,
success
especially if you're trying to have things come to you. It's a magnetic process. And if you aren't magnetic, I think some of us are born with a certain level of magnetism, where we're automatically going to attract more. You see that with people who always have money or find themselves in these incredible roles. Their magnetism at birth, whether that's karmic or whatnot, was at a 10 and a 1 out of 10. And we can either stoke the fire of our magnetism through right thinking and gratitude and inner peace, or we can diminish our magnetism by thinking that our value is outside of us and thinking that only thing that matters is what's in our bank account. So I'm with you on the inner piece and that inner dialogue piece. It's so critical.
And in your coaching, so you've developed an actual coaching program to teach people about this magnetism, right?
Well, yes, absolutely. In my coaching program, I not only teach people how to coach and kind of what works to help people move them along, but they have to be able to set up a business. And in my marketing style, I call it authentic marketing through purpose and magnetism. So there's certainly business techniques people do to attract clients. And, you have to put your information out there, and there's strategies and tactics to do that. But if you're in right relationship to your own energy and resonant with who you are as an individual practitioner, and then you focus on how do I maximize that, then the energy you're putting out into the world is authentic, it's true to you, it's true to your magnetism, And your tribe, your folks who are about you are going to come to you. Just kind of like you and I talked about, Kathryn, at the top of the hour. It's like you found me through someone who I don't really remember. But, that's how authentic marketing through purpose and magnetism, that's how it happens. You just have to do you and do it really well, and then everything comes to you in that way. So I teach that in my coaching course because I think it's the best way students should learn to build their business. And I teach the practical tips as well. But it also goes a lot into my book itself, The Energy of Abundance. I talk a lot about that. Not specifically marketing for a business, but in life, how do you generate more magnetism?
So what are some common mistakes that people make when they're working to create abundance in their life?
Well, as I said earlier, not starting with fertile soil. It's not clean at the beginning. The inception of the creative process is not clean. It's based in scarcity rather than gratitude. I would say that's probably the number one thing. And that really goes into focusing on what you don't have rather than what you have. And the second thing I think people really do that gets in the way is they attach. They decide, I have to have this thing. I have to have this job. I have to have this specific relationship. And they really get attached to it, so it starts to make them contract as opposed to feel expanded. And then they get so fearful they'll lose the thing or it won't come that they get in their own way energetically. And this is a common thing that happens when people get fragmented in outcomes. It's like, I put all this good energy out, and then all of a sudden I sabotage myself. So, and that is the work, by the way, right there, of expanding your consciousness. And we have to expand the awareness, the consciousness itself, and then we become more magnetic. And we think it's just this linear thing. I have to put in more hours every week. I have to manage my investments more carefully. I have to make more money. Yeah, those things are useful. But you can't actually expand significantly if you don't expand that awareness and that consciousness first. Yeah, so that whole piece is something you have to focus on and stay away from those attachments to what happens. And so often you'll hear people say, I certainly say it, this or something better, or, what's that phrase you hear a lot? If the door doesn't open, it's not my door. You really have to stay in that state of mind that if it's meant for me, if it's right for me, come to me. And really live there, no matter how invested we might be. And Kathryn, you might relate to this, that I literally had a client last week, and this is how the conversation goes. Okay, Phyllis, hello. I'm so excited. I just interviewed for this job. It's the perfect job. I love the boss. The income is off the charts. This is everything I've been looking for. I've been wanting this forever. I've been doing the hard work to make this happen. What do you see? Is it going to happen? They are already so emotionally invested in this outcome that they have decided is correct for them. What am I going to say? Sorry, bad news day. That is a really tricky one to walk around. And so, yes, we do get excited about things, and we do get disappointed by other things. We're human, but we have to really be able to find a way to balance that internal response pattern and get a handle on it and trust that life is working in our favor no matter what it is, and continue to mine the gold. So that was kind of a long roundabout answer to that, but it is that set of values that causes abundance to happen in people's lives.
All right, we have time for another caller here, and so we got one coming in from Illinois. Hello, Illinois.
Hello? Are you there?
Hi, this is Carrie.
Hi, Carrie. What's your question for Phyllis today?
Hi. So I've been having some health issues, and I've changed my diet over the last year, and things are slowly starting to improve, but I'm starting to feel a little, I don't know, like it's a long slog.
Yeah.
And I've been following the medical medium program with the celery juice, and I'm just now on the second to last day of another liver cleanse. And I still see a lot of skin issues with my eyes, my joints, my liver. Yeah. I've lost almost 30 pounds, so I am slowly seeing progress, but I'm feeling a little like, is this program really working for me?
Well, I think those are great questions, Carrie, by the way, hello. And I do see all that energy in front of your body. It's a lot. We'll just call it the third chakra, which is how we move energy. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you felt really sluggish or you had stomach upset, any of those things. I can really feel that part of your body is having a tough time. And even below that, the second chakra, but it's mostly right in the core center. So, some things work for some people and some things work for others. You never know. And if you aren't getting the results you look for, I would continue looking, because you are telling me that you have a unique path, a unique system. And so you might have to tweak the diet that you're on, or you might have to add some other things in or find another practitioner. But you're telling me you haven't quite dialed it in yet, but maybe you're 50% there. And this is a long haul. This is not like I can take a pill or I can drink some celery juice and I'm going to be better in 30 days. This is about a 5-month process you're in. And it doesn't mean it's going to feel terrible for 5 months, but it's going to take some time. So it sounds like you know that, right? And, the other thing I don't believe in a one-dimensional approach toward health, and you probably don't either, but I would just say looking at how much giving you do to others, making sure that you're getting filled up and you're feeling nurtured, that you're feeling like happy about some things in your life. I really want to feel some happiness in your system. I want to feel that joy that children have, because I'm feeling sort of a depression of sorts, and I want you to be excited about what's next, not just all the problems you have to conquer. So are you having enough space in your life for you right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say perhaps I need to do that more, yeah.
Well, and so when you're looking at a multidimensional approach toward health, we want to look at all the ways we can become healthy, because it's really remarkable what happens when we shift one little part of our life that we hadn't even thought about, and all of a sudden it moves energy in another place. So I would include these types of thoughts into your healing process, and I think you might need one other practitioner, by the way, to help you try some other things. But stay on the search. I trust your instincts, and I know that you're going to figure this out. And the last part of the year, you're feeling so much better.
Oh, well, that's good news. Yeah, that gives me a stronger will, I think, to stick with it.
Good.
And to
good.
I'm also working on emotional and spiritual healing as well.
Excellent.
Because I do know that I lack that joy.
You're doing it. Yeah. And I would love to see you. I wish I had a good joke to tell you so I could hear you laugh, because I bet you laugh in a really great way. So when you do laugh, I wish I had one. Sometimes I come up with something, but it's not coming right now. But watch some comedy, do something. But I trust your instincts. You should too. Move yourself in the direction those voices in your head are telling you to go. And you're going to get through it. I really trust that.
Okay, thank you. That's very heartening. Thank you.
Good. Right, well, I'm glad you called. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for joining us, Carrie. All right. So, Phyllis, thanks for joining us today. We are coming up on the end of the show.
Thank you for having me, Patrick Kathryn. Yeah.
And remember, you can find out more about Phyllis at phyllisking.com, and we love having you all with us in these conversations. Please visit our Facebook page at Spirits Journey Radio and like our page so that we can be part of your life. You can also find out what we do at intuitiveschool.com. This has been Spirits Journey Live on Truth Frequency Radio.